In my last video, you saw I went on holiday to Tenerife last year and I stayed at La Siesta Hotel in Playa Las Americas. Whilst on holiday, we went on 3 excursions that were all wheelchair accessible around the island. The first was a boat trip out to sea, the second a day at the accessible beach, and the third was a trip to Mount Teide and a vineyard. We booked the boat trip out to sea with a wonderful company called Back for All, who have a boat fully adapted for wheelchair users to enjoy. The company offers both private hire and shared charter options for various lengths of time. We went for the shared charter option of 3 hours and shared our trip with 3 other wheelchair users and their carers, friends and family. You can book your trip online in advance and they are really quick to respond to any questions you have beforehand. The boat is moored at Puerto de los Cristianos, which is a short 20-minute roll from our hotel, with the second part of the route taking you along the seafront, so it was a lovely flat and accessible route. There is a bus you can take from Playa Las Americas to the port that runs frequently, and this is accessible also. The area is full of bars, restaurants and shops, so there is plenty to see and do on the way, and the paths are wide and flat. Their boat is called the Santa Rita and it is a barrier-free boat that is specially adapted to not only allow wheelchair users to roll on, but the ramp has a hydraulic lift that allows it to lower users into the sea and then back out again. Staff are more than happy to help those who need assistance and use their own chair to slowly lower you into the sea to swim. They also have a number of life jackets in various sizes and designs to ensure that you can stay safe whilst in the sea, and also have snorkeling gear you can borrow too. The boat has a large lower deck that easily fit the 4 of us who are wheelchair users, including 2 who had large electric wheelchairs and the 4 people with us, and had around 6 to 8 members of staff. The boat has a toilet on board that is large enough to fit a wheelchair in, but they also have a smaller transport wheelchair if that's easier for you to transfer in to use. There is also a shower in the toilet to rinse off after swimming. To start our trip, we headed out to sea, where we saw lots of dolphins up close and even a sea turtle. Staff would slow the boat down where dolphins and turtles were spotted, and as the boat is smaller than most dolphin watching boats, we could get really close. Seeing them in person is much better than on video, as you see them a lot clearer. We then went along the coast and up to a cave before heading around an area where you can get into the sea and swim. We were given the option to fish before this, but no one in our group wanted to. Staff will help you in and out of the water on the lift with the wheelchair, and there are also staff swimming too, so they will help you then if needed as well. You don't have to swim if you don't want to. Around half our group went in the sea and half stayed on board. I was going to swim, but whilst it was really hot, it was windy, and due to a medical condition, I was worried about getting cold afterwards, as I'd only brought 1 towel with me. After swimming, lunch was served and we had an Italian pasta salad with drinks. Staff were great about catering for special diets, although we did let them know about this in advance too. Once lunch was finished, we headed back to the marina to disembark. Staff were on hand to help you on and off the boat, as although there is a ramp, the sea moves the gangplank up and down. So whilst I would normally jump my chair over the ramp lip, it is safer to have them help. The whole trip, staff were on hand to help if you needed it, but would always ask first. The path out of the marina is all flat and easy to navigate, where staff will come and help you at the start of the ramp out, as this is steep, but everyone managed it with help. All in all, we were super impressed with this excursion, and the fact the boat is adapted like this is amazing. It was wonderful seeing the dolphins and turtles up close in their natural environment, and the trip was our real highlight of our holiday. Tenerife is full of amazing sandy beaches and clear blue seas, and many of these can be found near the hotel we stayed at. However, one of these beaches, a 15-minute roll away, has amazing facilities for disabled people. Playa de las Vistas, or Beach of the Views, is located in the south of the island and really easy to get to from our hotel. The route is flat and along wide pavements. The first part takes you through one of the main areas of Playa Las Americas, full of bars, shops and restaurants, and the second half of the route takes you along a coastal path. The coastal path runs for miles along the beach and is perfect for rolling along and admiring the view. Every so often you'll come across ramps down to the beach and ramps to the upper path that has bars and restaurants on. The ramps down to the beach are where you'll find the toilet blocks that include disabled toilets, along with wooden paths that run along the beach. These allow wheelchair users and those with pushchairs, crutches and other wheeled mobility aids to get onto the beach without getting stuck in the sand. The beach has won a Blue Flag award for many consecutive years, which shows how good it is. Especially when you get to the middle of the beach, which is nearly 1 kilometre long, as there is a brilliant section that has been designed for disabled people. The ramp here leads you down to the same wooden paths, but this time they lead to a large accessible area with a sunroof and sunbeds. This covered area is vast and easily fits dozens of sunbeds, arranged in rows to allow plenty of space to roll through, and you can choose if you want to be in the sun or the shade. It is the perfect space to spend time at the beach, whether that be sunbathing, reading a book, enjoying the views or going for a swim. These can be pre-booked online and lifeguards will help you onto the chair and wheel you down to the sea. They will stay in the water with you if you want them to, and then they will push you back up. There is also a block of showers that is perfect for washing the sand off, and these are wheelchair accessible too. Next to the showers is a toilet block which has 2 disabled toilets. These are kept locked and lifeguards have the key. This ensures only disabled people use them to keep them clean and ready for use by those who need them. The beach is home to an amazing sunset in the evening, and it's clear to see why it is called the Beach of the Views. It's the perfect beach to visit to spend the day enjoying both the stunning views and the amazing disabled facilities. When you think of Tenerife, your first thoughts are probably beautiful sandy beaches, crystal clear seas, bright blue skies, and year-round sun, as it is an island off the coast of Africa after all. However, the centre of the island is dominated by a magnificent volcano called Mount Teide and its surrounding national park. The company who ran the boat trip, Bat for All, will also organise trips to Teide too, so we organised to go on an evening sunset tour to the volcano, which included a trip to a vineyard on the way up. You visit the vineyard first, then head up to the Canada Blanca Visitor Centre to see Mount Teide, and then on the way back to the hotel you stop at a viewpoint to enjoy the sunset. One of the staff came to our hotel at around 4 p.m. to pick us up in his car. I am fortunate that I am able to transfer from my wheelchair into a car, and so we got into his 4-seater convertible car and set off for the mountains. If you use an electric wheelchair but can transfer into a car, they have their own manual wheelchair you can borrow. The vineyard is on the way to the national park and took around 30 minutes to reach, The drive starts off in the bustling town of Playa Las Americas, but very quickly you start climbing up steep roads surrounded by desert-like vegetation. The vineyard is called Bodega Lagar de Chasna, and it is a small but beautiful traditional vineyard. As you pull into the car park, you instantly feel like you've gone back in time. The buildings are old and rustic, and everywhere you look, the view is beautiful. Sadly though, because of the building's age, they're not the most accessible. There's a steep ramp down into the building, and whilst it was accessible, as it was such a lovely afternoon, we decided to sit outside in their quaint courtyard. The terrain at the vineyard varies and at times isn't the easiest to manoeuvre over in a wheelchair. However, the lovely man from Bat for All was on hand to help me over the paving, and with his help we were soon sat in the courtyard. Included in the cost of this trip was wine tasting and a small meal. We had 5 wines to try, and these were all vegan and organic, and the owner of the vineyard came out to talk about his vineyard and the history and how the luscious volcanic soil helps create unique and delicious wines. Owing to the fact that myself and my friend are both vegan, we only had the potatoes that came with traditional herb sauces. However, usually this would also be accompanied with local meats and cheeses. It was really interesting learning all about the vineyard and how they have managed to still produce award-winning wines using traditional small-scale practices, whilst competing with larger wine producers in other countries. There is a toilet at the vineyard, and whilst it isn't designed for disabled people, I was able to get my wheelchair inside and use it. We then got back into the car and continued our drive further up the mountain towards Teide. The further up we went, the more the landscape changed again, this time from dry desert to lush vegetation and forest. The roads are incredibly windy and curve their way up the mountain and provide some stunning views, made even better by having the roof of the car down. The drive to the Canada Blanca Visitor Centre from the vineyard took around 35 minutes. Halfway into this drive, the landscape changed again as we neared Mount Teide, this time looking like we had driven to the surface of Mars. Dusty orange-brown arid soil with large boulders and rock formations littered the landscape, with small dry bushes forming in clumps in places. The visitor centre has a large car park with designated disabled bays that were watched over by a ranger who let us park there even though my disabled parking badge was in my car at home. The car park is brick paved, making it easy to roll over, and led us round to the path to let us enter the park. There are designated paths running through the national park, and you are not allowed off them, so as to protect the delicate flora and fauna. The paths are made of solid compacted earth with tiny pieces of gravel in places, however they were really easy to roll over. There are information boards dotted around talking about the unique geography and geology of the park, and these are all set in an accessible height to be able to read and are translated into a number of languages. As someone who has a geography degree, I found this all super interesting and could have spent hours exploring the park. The main visitor centre is called Teide Legend Visitor Centre. This is home to the cable cars that take you to the top of Mount Teide, but unfortunately these aren't wheelchair accessible. This is because to be able to access the cars, you have to climb up a number of steps. However, the Canada Blanca Visitor Centre gives you a great accessible base to view Mount Teide and access parts of the national park. The Visitor Centre was built in 2022 and inside the centre is fully accessible. It has an audio-visual room that explains the history and the geology of the local area and how the landscape was shaped. There are also dedicated disabled toilets here too. Sadly, we didn't have time to go to the visitor centre as we wanted to go down to the last viewpoint for the sunset, but if I return to Tenerife, I plan on spending a full day here exploring more of the accessible paths and the visitor centre. We got back into the car and drove down to a viewpoint called Mirador El Retomar, which is a well-known viewpoint for heading to watch the sunset within the national park. It's just a small lay-by with parking for say 15 cars, but the views are amazing. The man who was driving us got out and took photos for us, because whilst the train was accessible for me to get out in my wheelchair, his car having the roof down allowed us to view the sunset from there, saving me the need to get out. He took our phones to get some uninterrupted photos, as it gets very busy during this time, because along with the cars stopping there to watch the sunset, you also get lots of people on quad bikes as well as hikers stopping here to enjoy it too. It was around a 15-minute drive from the visitor centre to the viewpoint, and then a 45-minute drive back to the hotel. All in all, Tenerife was a great place to explore and visit as a wheelchair user. The area around our hotel was accessible with large pavements, ramps up to the shops, bars and restaurants, and lots of wheelchair accessible taxis for hire. The fact that we could go on a boat trip that not only had a ramp access for me to wheel onto, but that had a lift and facilities to allow wheelchair users to go swimming was amazing. I have tried to find accessible boat trips like this in other countries in the past and failed, and so I would love to see more boats like this running trips in other countries in the future. The beach we visited was amazing and again opened up a place that is often hard for wheelchair users to visit. It was a lovely place to spend the day and somewhere where people of all ages and abilities can enjoy a fun day out together. It's definitely somewhere I would visit again, and it's great that accessible beaches like this one are being created in many resorts and countries around the world. Finally, organising the excursion to Teide was something I had struggled to find and book in advance, as I couldn't find a company who would accommodate me being a wheelchair user on their excursions. So finding that the boat company would also organise this trip was amazing, as I had feared we would either have to pay out for an expensive taxi or hire car, or miss out completely. The trip cost us €60 each, and that included being picked up and driven back to our hotel, the vineyard trip with wine tasting, visit to the Canada Blanca visitor centre, and stopping at the viewpoint on the way back to see the sunset. Similar group tours that include the same activities start from around €50 per person up to over €100, but many have a central pick-up and drop-off point and you're sharing the experience with many other people. But most importantly, they aren't wheelchair accessible, so impossible to book on anyway. Thank you so much for watching. Have a really great day. Please like, subscribe and leave a comment. It really does help my channel grow.